In the video where I discussed the entities mentioned in the story Perennial, I theorized about the Taker's possible true identity being Kindred, and a possible connection between the Gatekeeper, the Collector, and Kindred, with the Gatekeeper being known as the Fox in Lillia. I think this is very possible, as Kindred are known as the Lamb and the Wolf. Stick till the end, where I'll talk about the new champions teasers found on PBE. But now, getting back to Kindred, in this video I will explain everything we know about these two entities. Kindred is a manifestation of death in Runeterra. Lamb and Wolf represent the twin essence of death. Lamb's bow offers a swift release from the mortal realm for those who accept their fate. Wolf hunts down those who run from their end, delivering violently finality within his crushing jaws. The Lamb displays more knowledge about the mortal world, while being cold and apathetic. Wolf displays less knowledge and is more impulsive. Despite this, Lamb can feel various emotions too, and Wolf is always curious to know more. They each have their own thoughts and personality. Despite not having sexes like mortals, the Lamb is feminine and the Wolf is masculine, with the corresponding pronouns being used to refer to each. The Lamb is sometimes associated with courage, compassion, mercy, light, quick death, accepting death. In Bilgewater, however, the Lamb is seen as weak and coward. In Noxus, presumably, people associate accepting death as a weakness, therefore seeing the Lamb as weak too. The Wolf is associated with fear, savagery, terror, tooth, darkness, slow and painful death, refusing to die and running from death. In the story All Kindred Eve, we learn that the Kindred are imagined differently by various cultures. Shuriamans might see them as an elegant tusked gazelle and a speckled hyena. Ionians might see them as a snake and a sparrow. Other interpretations include a jawfish and a minnow, a bloody antlered stag and a sleek rabbit, a rose and a stinging bee. The Lamb and the Wolf are known as Ina and Annie in the west, and as Faria and Wolio in the east. For example, in Bilgewater, they are known as Faria, the educated Lamb of Light, and Wolio, the great black wolf. With so many different interpretations of the hunters, normally each culture embraces them differently. A true Demacian will turn to the lambs, taking the arrow, while through the shadow streets of Noxus, Wolf leads the hunt. In the snows of the Freljord, before going off to fight, some warbands kiss the wolf, vowing to honor his chase with the blood of their enemies. After each arrowing, the town of Bilgewater gathers to celebrate its survivors and honors those granted the true death by Lamb and Wolf. The Winter's Claw have a sacred death oath, which they call a death knot. Sejuani performs it in the story with the same name. I am Sejuani, War Mother of the Winter's Claw. I am the Winter's Wrath. I am the flail of the northern winds, she cried, as she tied the last triangular knot into her hair. Even in death, I will hold the river bank until you safely cross. This is my oath. I see the wolf, and my fate is tied. In Bilgewater, a festival known as Kindred Eve is held in celebration of the Kindred. There, people gather in an island called Witch Tree Rock, where they watch a play about their tale of the Kindred, party, and watch the most coward person found in Bilgewater at that time fight a stronger person. The coward, also known as the Lambful, fights the Wolf King warrior, and the outcome of the fight determines the behavior of the folk of Bilgewater for the next year. They want the wolf to win, otherwise they would have to act as good people, not lying, cheating or killing, hence why the fight favors the side of the wolf. Riot M. Shaw states that Mordecai's culture most likely did not have a concept of kindred, saying different cultures of Runeterra have different understandings and relationships to death. Kindred is interesting as the myth of kindred takes many forms across many of Runeterra's cultures. Giving Sanuzal's faith in the Hall of Bones, I think it's safe to say his culture did not have a kindred myth. The kindred seem to be associated with bewitched Eldlock trees. In Ezreal's field notes, he states that he is looking for the masks of the kindred, but not just any kindred masks, but the originals, carved from the wood of a supposedly bewitched Eldlock tree. As I said, the Bilgewater festival about celebrating the kindred is held on a Witch Tree Rock, an island with a leafless Eldlock tree. Their tale of the kindred's origin also mentions this type of tree. Speaking of which, the story that Lamb tells Wolf about a pale man with dark hair who is very lonely seems to be a metaphor for how the kindred who originally were one being split into two forms. In All Kindred Eve, we learn a version of this story, told in Bilgewater. The story of a pale rider who rides a great black beast who people avoided since looking at him meant death. One night, he came upon a forked path with a gnarled log tree in the middle. He then knelt before the ancient tree and cut himself right down the middle, using an axe, so he could go through both roads. One road led to a deep, dark wood, and the other toward the City of Light. The two roads met again, and the Pale Rider's elves regarded each other. They had grown different despite being the same. They drowned his axe in a river and decreed to forever walk side by side so they would never be alone. As you can tell, the story is very similar, even mentioning the axe, and the phrases right down the middle and so they would never be alone. Initially, one might be led to assume that the Pale Rider represents the lamb, and the beast he rides to be the wolf. This, however, is obviously not the case. Although similar, lamb confirms she and wolf know a truer story. We know a truer story, of which this faint dramaturgy projects only shadow, she tells Wolf. The story mentions that the Kindred drowned their axe in a river. Interestingly enough, Ezreal's note on Kindred is made on a river near Jandel in Demacia. In this note, he also mentions the story of a good death, revealing that it happened in Demacia. With this being said, a possible connection between the Eldlock trees and the Petricide trees is possible. Returning to the story Perennial, the Taker is described as the little girl who was there at the moment of every death, obviously making her an interpretation of the Kindred. However, it seems that, just like many cultures, they don't know exactly how the Kindred look and their real story, with Satoka wearing a mask of the Taker, the mask being described as intricate, with large hornet horns and eyes that twisted down the face into a wicked grin. A theme in Perennial is the fact that there exist many versions of the same tales. For example, the story of the brothers has two versions, one where the collector makes their swords, another where they make the swords themselves. The Gatekeeper is imagined as different animals by various people. A story known as Tse Segwa tale, present in the story, is also said to be the wrong version of the tale, and as one character puts it, these are old stories, he said, told and retold hundreds and thousands of times over many lifetimes. I'm sure we each get a part of it right. Therefore, people of Welly imagining the Kindred as a little girl or an entity with horns makes total sense. Coming back to the Gatekeeper and the Collector, recently, files in the PBE were found which are two clips with a mysterious voice and a loot asset called Lillia's haiku.
They took your home, Lillia. Do not forget this loss. Let it course through you. Poor lost spirits beckoning to bloom. I've been waiting for you.
It seems to me that this is the Assassin Champion speaking to the Whimsical Champion, with both clips being part of the teaser for the Whimsical Champion. The quotes are very vague. We don't know what this entity means by your home. Perhaps it's referring to Noxus invading Ionia. The way the entity speaks, it seems to be trying to influence Lillia to do something she wouldn't normally do. Spirits beckoning to bloom is both a reference to the Blossom Festival, where the living can speak with the spirits of the dead via a plant known as Spirit Blossom, and to the seeds that the Collector planted and bloomed as swords. Lillia's haiku icon is a lamp, similar to those found in the festival. A haiku is a type of poem. The lamp is also known for her poems, but maybe this is a stretch. I also want to mention that the voice is very similar to Thresh, and that possibly Lillia's home is the island from which Niku comes from. I don't have much evidence to prove this, it's just a wild theory, but it would make sense if she turns out to be related to either Vastaya or Vastaya Shirei, as I have theorized in my previous videos. With this being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.